I'm Mia Rodriguez, 34. Until last month, I was the best salesperson at City Solutions for 8 years. I built up their customer list from nothing. I even helped Tom when he first started. I truly believed that my hard work and loyalty would get me the big manager job I wanted. Instead, I watched them give everything I worked for to him: the promotion, the nice office, the good parking spot, the extra money. Now, they're wondering where all their customers went. Before I share my story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever been overlooked even after working so hard. My time at City Solutions began 8 years ago. I started as a basic helper. I still remember my tiny desk in the corner, the old computer, and piles of customer files no one else wanted. But I saw a chance where others saw boring tasks. Those forgotten accounts became my starting point. In my first year, I turned 3 of those ignored customers into our biggest spenders. By my second year, I broke the sales record twice. The bosses noticed, and I got my first promotion to customer manager. 3 years in, I became a senior customer manager with my own small team. This climb wasn't easy. I missed my sister Sophia's wedding practice dinner because I was closing a big deal with a customer far away. My trip to the coast was canceled when a problem came up with our biggest car customer. Family dinners were cut short by urgent customer calls. My social life almost disappeared, and dating became an afterthought. But I believed in what I was building. The way things worked at City Solutions was competitive, but mostly fair. We had clear goals, open reviews of our work, and a system where promotions were based on effort. At least that's what I thought. The main bosses looked at results, and even though office politics existed, good work usually won. The important people in our department were typical office types, each with their own quirks. Mr. Davies was our sales head, a man in his mid-50s who liked old-school ways of building relationships, like over a game of golf. He liked my sales numbers, but sometimes seemed uneasy with my direct style. Mr. Davies had been at City Solutions for 15 years and had the ear of the top leaders. Sarah worked next to me as another senior customer manager. We shared ideas over lunch and complained about work problems during happy hour. She had 2 kids and somehow managed her family life with her impressive work achievements. Sarah was my friend in a department mostly run by men. Then there was Tom Green, the eager 27-year-old I had guided for 2 years. He was fresh out of business school with little real-world experience. Tom had the right education and a natural charm that made people like him instantly. What he lacked was practical know-how, which I happily shared. Miss Chen, our CEO, mostly stayed in the top executive world. Our talks were limited to big company meetings and quick elevator chats. She knew my name and thanked me for my work, but we rarely had deep conversations. My relationships with customers were different from what most customer managers did. I learned their children's names, remembered their birthdays, and knew their products better than some of their own staff. I could see problems coming before they happened and had solutions ready. Customers had my personal cell phone number and knew they could call anytime. This dedication turned customers into loyal friends who trusted my advice completely. When whispers started about a new head of customer relations job opening up, I knew this was my moment. The role would oversee all big customer relationships and plan how our customer management department would work. It was the perfect fit for my skills and experience. I started getting ready right away. I wrote down my customer retention rates, growth numbers, and new ways of managing customer relationships. I made detailed plans to use my approach across the whole company. I got more training in strategic customer management and customer experience design. Every step was planned, focused on showing that I wasn't just qualified, but the clear choice. The excitement I felt was huge. This was the executive job I had been working towards since joining City Solutions. It wasn't just a new title, it proved that my way of handling customer relationships was right. The pay raise would finally let me buy a house instead of renting my small apartment. The job meant a seat at the leadership table where big decisions were made. After years of doing the work, I would help shape the company's future. I believed my past work spoke for itself. 8 years of always doing great, a list of loyal customers, and new ideas that others in the company had started using. The big manager job felt like the next natural step, the official recognition of what I had already shown through my results. I was ready. Tom joined City Solutions on a rainy Tuesday in April, 2 years before everything changed. I remember because I had to share my umbrella with him from the parking lot to the building, both of us laughing as we tried to avoid puddles. He seemed honest and eager to learn, dressed in a suit that was a bit too big, suggesting he had just finished school. Mr. Davies introduced us in the meeting room later that morning. "Mia, this is Tom Green, our new customer helper. I want you to show him the ropes. You're our best, and he could learn a lot from you." The task came on top of my already huge workload, but I took it as a compliment. If management trusted me to train new talent, it could only make my position stronger. Despite my busy schedule, I promised to give Tom good guidance. The first week, I set aside 2 hours each day to walk him through our customer systems, introduce him to our services, and explain how we did things internally. I shared my color-coded system for tracking customer talks, a method that had saved me countless hours over the years. The training for our customer tracking system alone took 3 full days. Tom was smart, but new to how to actually use customer management software. I showed him how to look past just putting in data to see patterns in customer behavior, how to guess their needs based on past talks, and how to write down conversations in a way that builds company knowledge. The system is just a tool, I told him. The real value is how you use it to make relationships stronger. Technology should make human connection better, not replace it. Tom took notes carefully and asked smart questions. He seemed truly thankful for the time I spent helping him grow. "Most people would just throw me into the deep end," he said during our 3rd week. "You're actually teaching me to swim." I slowly introduced him to some of my smaller customers, always in meetings together where I could watch and guide his approach. After each talk, we would review, discussing what worked, what could be better, and how to talk to each customer's personality. Notice how Miss Evans from Bright Designs prefers direct talk with clear action points, while Mr. Lee at Riverbend Homes responds better to stories and big picture ideas. You need to change your style for each relationship. Tom learned these lessons quickly, showing an impressive ability to change his approach based on the customer. Within 6 months, he was handling several accounts on his own, though I still checked his work and gave regular feedback. Our work relationship became a comfortable routine. We had weekly planning sessions every Thursday morning over coffee, reviewing his accounts and talking about any problems. Sometimes, these talks would extend to after-work drinks, where we would discuss wider industry trends and our career hopes. During one such evening at the Corner Tap, the bar near our office, I shared my goals for the new head of customer relations job that had been mentioned in the quarterly meeting. "That position has your name written all over it," Tom said, raising his glass in a toast. "Nobody understands the customers like you do." His approval felt good, and I spoke openly about my vision for customer relationships at City Solutions. The industry is changing. Old ways of managing customers aren't enough anymore. We need to be seen as strategic partners, not just service providers. I explained my ideas for changing the department to focus on long-term customer success rather than just quick money goals. Tom listened carefully, asking smart questions about how to make it happen and how to measure success. Looking back, I shared too much, but at the time it felt like guiding a friend, not arming a rival. As months passed, I noticed Tom's fast growth. He started getting new business on his own and received good feedback from his customers. During team meetings, he often mentioned strategies I had taught him, always saying where they came from. As Mia showed me, the key is understanding the customer's industry problems, not just their immediate needs. His success made my mentorship look good, and I felt true pride watching him grow. When he landed Apex Industries, a medium-sized manufacturing customer we had been chasing for months, I took him out to celebrate. "The student is becoming the master," I joked. Though the achievement was big, our teamwork reached its peak when we worked together on pitching to Global Holdings, a major potential customer that would increase our department's income by 20%. For 3 weeks, we worked late into evenings developing a full proposal that addressed their specific problems. The presentation combined my experience with his fresh ideas, and we got the account with everyone's approval from their board. Mr. Davies publicly praised our teamwork during the next big meeting, specifically noting how I had helped Tom contribute to such an important win. The recognition strengthened my belief that helping others rise didn't lessen my own success. A team-based approach made everyone stronger, and Tom's growth showed my leadership abilities. I helped Tom because I believed in developing talent and building a strong team. In my vision of the future, with me as the head manager, I imagined him continuing to grow, perhaps eventually taking over my senior customer manager role. I saw our relationship as good for both of us, a perfect example of good guidance, creating value for everyone involved. I had no idea that I was training my replacement. The change happened slowly, almost without me noticing at first. 6 months before the promotion announcement, Tom started changing his habits. Our Thursday morning planning sessions became shorter, often rescheduled, and eventually turned into quick check-ins. He started saying no to our occasional after-work drinks, saying he had other plans. In team meetings, his contributions changed in subtle ways. Rather than building on others' ideas, he began presenting polished concepts that seemed ready-made. His reports became more selective, highlighting wins while skipping over problems that might need guidance. I first noticed his increased talks with Mr. Davies during the holiday party. They spent most of the evening talking, their body language suggesting more important topics than holiday small talk. When I came closer, their discussion shifted to sports, a sudden change that felt planned. The next week, I saw them entering a meeting room together. When I asked Tom about it later, he mentioned a special project without saying more. Such tasks weren't unusual, but the secrecy was. Usually, special projects were announced in department meetings to use everyone's knowledge. Around this time, Tom's look also started to change. His ready-made suits were replaced by custom-made clothes with fancy labels. He switched from a regular backpack to a leather briefcase that I knew cost at least $2,000. His confidence seemed to grow with his clothes, showing up as a slight sharpness in his talks that hadn't been there before. Office whispers about the big manager job selection process started in January. Lisa from HR mentioned to Sarah that certain jobs were being looked at for reorganization, which Sarah told me over lunch. The unclear wording suggested the big manager job might be taking shape behind closed doors. I was walking past the executive meeting room one afternoon when I heard Tom's voice through the partly open door. The customer-focused approach has shown amazing results with global holdings, he was saying to what sounded like the top team. By focusing on their big business problems rather than just their marketing needs, we've increased their monthly payment by 60%. I froze in the hallway. This was the exact strategy I had developed and taught him, right down to the specific words. He presented it without saying where it came from, as if it were his own new idea. Before I could fully understand this, Mr. Davies' voice responded with approval. This is exactly the forward-thinking approach we need at the executive level. A week later, Mr. Chen from Bright Designs called to talk about their upcoming campaign. During our conversation, he casually mentioned Tom had some interesting ideas when he stopped by last week. I told him we would think about them after talking to you. My stomach tightened. Tom had visited my longtime customer without telling me. When asked about normal procedures, customers would sometimes mix up details, but Mr. Chen was precise and had specifically mentioned Tom's solo visit. That evening, I talked about my worries with Sarah over dinner at a restaurant far enough from the office to be private. Am I being paranoid, or is something happening with Tom? I asked after telling her about the incidents. Sarah took a sip of her wine before answering. It could be nothing. Mr. Davies might be getting him ready for a totally different job. Plus, everyone gets a little strange when promotion time comes. Remember how David acted last year before he got the creative director job? Her sensible explanation helped calm my racing thoughts. You're probably right. I'm just on edge with the big manager job possibly opening up. Exactly. And your track record speaks for itself. Tom is good, but he's nowhere near your level of experience or customer relationships. The next day, I casually approached Tom while he was making coffee in the break room. Hey, Mr. Chen from Bright Designs mentioned your visit. Anything I should know about their campaign needs? Tom barely looked up from stirring his coffee. Just a quick check-in while I was in their area for another meeting. Nothing big. They seem happy with the current plan. His dismissive tone and vague explanation didn't match Mr. Chen's description of a meeting with interesting ideas, but pushing further would have seemed confrontational without more information. I chose to accept his explanation while making a mental note to pay closer attention. I tried to schedule time with Mr. Davies to discuss the big manager role and my interests directly. His assistant, Brenda, was polite but always redirected me. His calendar is packed this week with budget planning. Let me find a slot next week. Next week never seemed to arrive. Meanwhile, Tom started getting tasks directly from Mr. Davies that would usually go to someone at my level. He was invited to customer strategy sessions with other departments where my presence would have been normal. These projects were presented as learning opportunities, but their frequency and importance suggested something more. I felt the first real pangs of betrayal during this time, mixed with self-doubt. Was I misreading normal business operations because I felt insecure? Was my guidance being rewarded by giving Tom chances to grow? Or was something more calculated happening behind the scenes? I looked at my recent work numbers to check for any drops. My numbers were stronger than ever. Customer satisfaction scores were at their highest point. I had brought in 3 new big accounts in the past 3 months alone. Objectively, my position should have been safe. I tried to make sense of the changes. Perhaps Mr. Davies was testing Tom's abilities for a different role. Maybe the executive team was planning a department change that would benefit everyone. It was also possible that my view was skewed by my focus on the big manager job. Still, something felt wrong. The team-based culture I had thrived in seemed to be changing into something less clear. Information that once flowed freely now moved through channels I couldn't access. The mentor-mentee relationship I had built with Tom was being replaced by something that felt uncomfortably competition. Despite these worries, I kept my focus on customer relationships and performance numbers. If office politics were at play, the best counter-strategy was undeniable results. I increased my customer outreach, developed new campaign ideas, and wrote down every success carefully. I convinced myself that good work would ultimately win. In an industry driven by data, performance would outweigh politics. My years of consistent excellence couldn't be erased by a few months of secret talks, or so I thought. The company-wide email arrived on a Monday morning in early March. Subject line, Executive Opportunity, Vice President of Customer Relations. The formal announcement confirmed what had been rumored for months. Applications were due by Friday, with interviews scheduled for the following week. The job description read like a summary of my career at City Solutions. I spent every evening that week making my application materials perfect. My resume highlighted 8 years of growing responsibility and clear achievements. I created a full business plan for the role, outlining my vision for improving customer relationships across the company. I developed a slide deck showing key strategies supported by examples from my own customer list. For interview preparation, I researched industry trends, competitor approaches, and new technologies in customer relationship management. I practiced answers to possible questions, focusing on specific examples that showed my leadership, strategic thinking, and customer focus. I even bought a new suit, navy blue with subtle stripes that showed confidence without being too aggressive. My interview was scheduled for Wednesday at 2 p.m. I arrived 15 minutes early, reviewed my notes one last time, and entered the meeting room precisely on time. Mr. Davies sat at the head of the table with Miss Kim from HR beside him. The setup was normal for executive interviews, but their mood was not. Mr. Davies barely looked up from his phone when I entered, offering a distracted greeting. Miss Kim smiled professionally but seemed uncomfortable. The interview lasted 25 minutes instead of the scheduled hour. Mr. Davies asked basic questions about my experience and qualifications, but showed little interest in my detailed answers. When I presented my business plan, he glanced at it briefly before returning to general questions from what appeared to be a standard HR form. "Do you have any questions for us?" Mr. Davies asked after cutting short my explanation of a customer retention strategy. "Yes, actually. I was hoping to discuss my vision for integrating customer feedback into our service development process. It's an approach I've been testing with select accounts that has shown promising results." "We're running behind schedule, but you can email that to Miss Kim," he replied, standing to signal the end of our meeting. "Thank you for your time, Mia." As I gathered my materials, I noticed my carefully prepared presentation deck remained untouched on the table. Mr. Davies was already checking his phone while walking toward the door. The interview felt like a formality rather than a real evaluation of my suitability. The announcement meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon. The entire sales and customer relations departments gathered in the main meeting room. Miss Chen made a rare appearance, standing beside Mr. Davies at the front of the room. The excitement was clear, with colleagues giving me encouraging looks and thumbs-up gestures. Mr. Davies stepped forward, holding a folder that presumably contained the announcement. "Thank you all for your patience during this selection process. The Vice President of Customer Relations will be crucial in shaping our customer strategy moving forward. After careful consideration of all qualified candidates, I am pleased to announce that Tom Green will be taking on this important role." The room fell silent for a split second before erupting into applause. I felt a physical shockwave move through my body. My vision narrowed, and the sound seemed to come from far away. I maintained my professional smile while processing the words I had just heard. As colleagues turned to gauge my reaction, I forced myself to join the applause. Tom moved to the front of the room, shaking hands with Mr. Davies and Miss Chen. When he turned to address the team, his expression was a practiced mix of humility and confidence. "Thank you for this opportunity," he began. "I'm excited to build on City Solutions' strong foundation of customer relationships and take our approach to the next level. I have a vision for integrating customer feedback into our service development process that will transform how we deliver value." My own words, from the vision I had shared with him over drinks, from the strategy I had outlined in my unused presentation, were coming out of his mouth. I felt physically ill, but maintained my composure through sheer force of will. After his speech, Mr. Davies added the final twist of the knife. "Your protégé deserves it, Mia. You trained him well." His patronizing tone suggested I should be proud rather than devastated, as if my greatest achievement was preparing my replacement. The meeting concluded with announcements of Tom's new benefits package. He would receive a 40% salary increase, a corner office on the executive floor, a reserved parking space next to the building entrance, and a signing bonus that equaled half my annual salary. Each detail felt like another blow. During the congratulatory gathering that followed, I shook hands, made appropriate comments, and excused myself as soon as possible without appearing upset. I walked to my car with measured steps, maintained my composure through the drive home, and finally broke down in tears when my apartment door closed behind me. That evening, while scrolling mindlessly through social media to distract myself, I came across a photo that Mr. Davies' wife had posted 3 months earlier. It showed Mr. Davies and Tom on a golf course, clubs raised in celebration of a good shot. The caption read, "Mark says these Sunday games are work research, but it looks more like fun to me." The date was during a weekend when Tom had declined our usual project review session, claiming family obligations. Further investigation revealed multiple instances of their social connection outside work: dinner at Mr. Davies' club, a basketball game in courtside seats. Tom had been building a relationship with Mr. Davies for months while I focused on customers and performance numbers. The final shock came when Sarah texted me later that night. She had overheard Miss Kim from HR mentioning that Tom had been working on a special leadership presentation since December with Mr. Davies' guidance. The presentation had apparently been shown to the executive team 2 weeks before the official big manager announcement. The decision had already been made long before interviews were conducted. Lying in bed that night, staring at my ceiling, I finally understood. My dedication to customer relationships, my open approach to management, my belief in teamwork, these were not valued in the way I had thought. The game was different from the one I had been playing. Tom had recognized the real rules faster than I had, and he had won accordingly. 8 years of loyalty and amazing work had meant less than 3 months of smart relationship building with the right executive. My guidance had given Tom the knowledge he needed, and my trust had given him access to strategies he could present as his own. I had armed my replacement and then stepped aside while he took my rightful position. The betrayal was complete, smooth in how it happened, and devastating in its impact. Everything I had worked for was handed to someone else, someone I had trained, someone I had trusted. The weekend after the announcement was the lowest point. Saturday, I alternated between crying and sleeping, barely eating, ignoring calls from worried friends. Sunday morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a hollow feeling in my chest that felt permanent. I moved through my apartment like a ghost, touching items from my career, awards, and photos of customer events that suddenly seemed to belong to someone else's life. By Sunday afternoon, the initial shock began turning into anger. White-hot, clarifying anger that burned away the fog of self-pity. I sat at my kitchen table with a notebook, writing down every detail of what had happened, forcing myself to face the full extent of the betrayal. The process was painful, but needed, like cleaning a wound before it could heal. As evening approached, something shifted again. The anger remained, but alongside it grew a cold, analytical focus. If City Solutions valued politics over performance, if loyalty meant nothing compared to smart positioning, then perhaps I had been playing the wrong game all along. I had been building value for a company that didn't value me. Monday morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual, dressed perfectly, my face showing nothing. Colleagues approached carefully with sympathetic looks and awkward condolences. I accepted them politely while changing conversations to current projects. I was determined to show neither weakness nor bitterness. At 11 a.m., Mr. Clark from Global Holdings called. Mr. Clark had been my main contact since we won their business, and we had built a strong work relationship. "Mia, I'm confused about some emails I received regarding our account structure," he began. "Tom Green is now listed as our primary contact with a note about your transitioning to different responsibilities. Is there a reorganization happening? This was news to me. No one had discussed changing my accounts, especially not Global Holdings, our biggest recent win." "I was not aware of this change, Mr. Clark. Let me look into it and call you back with clarity." "Please do. Our team specifically chose City Solutions because of your approach. No offense to Tom, but we have a good connection with you that took months to build." After we hung up, I checked my emails and found a message from Tom to all customer managers, sent late Friday after most people had left for the weekend. It explained a strategic redistribution of key accounts to fit the new department structure. My largest customers were being given to others, with me keeping only smaller accounts. The message sparked a realization. Customer relationships were built personally, but claimed by the company. City Solutions assumed customers would remain loyal to the company regardless of which individual managed their account. It was a basic misunderstanding about how service relationships work. I spent the afternoon carefully writing down my customer list, creating a spreadsheet of account values, how long we'd had them, and key contacts. I pulled reports showing my contribution to company income over 8 years. The numbers were huge when seen all together. That evening, I reviewed my employment contract, paying special attention to clauses about not competing. City Solutions agreement stopped me from asking for clients for 6 months after leaving, but it had an interesting loophole. It applied specifically to directly asking current clients. There were no restrictions on accepting business if clients approached me first, after learning of my departure. Tuesday morning, I called Lena, a lawyer friend who specialized in employment law, and described my situation generally. "Companies often rely on non-competes that wouldn't hold up in a serious legal fight," she explained. "Without directly asking clients while still employed, and by having clients reach out to you first after you leave, you would have a strong defense if they tried to take action." The conversation made clear what had been forming in my mind since Sunday evening. I could start my own consulting firm, using my industry knowledge and approach to customer relationships. The thought of building something that truly reflected my values was both scary and exciting. That night, I created a detailed business plan. I would focus on strategic communication and relationship management consulting, offering the same services I provided at City Solutions, but with more personalized attention and without big company costs. I calculated startup expenses, projected income based on careful customer acquisition estimates, and outlined service packages at different prices. My savings could keep me going for 3 months without income. It was risky, but possible with careful planning. I would need office space, basic equipment, legal structure, and marketing materials. The biggest challenge would be the time between leaving City Solutions and getting steady customer relationships. Wednesday morning, I applied for a business loan using my apartment as collateral. By afternoon, I had been pre-approved. I registered a website name for Mia's Client Solutions and contacted a designer friend to start work on branding materials. I scheduled visits to 3 small office spaces in professional buildings, all affordable but impressive enough for customer meetings. Each concrete step strengthened my resolve. What had begun as a reaction to betrayal was turning into a vision for something better. I had always worked within the limits of City Solutions structure. Independence would allow me to put into practice customer relationship strategies I had wanted for years. A strange calm replaced my initial anger. I would continue doing excellent work at City Solutions while getting ready to leave. My customers deserved consistent service until things change, and staying professional would protect my reputation no matter what happened. I created a separate email account and phone number for my new business. I developed templates for announcements, communications, and service proposals. I outlined a follow-up schedule for customer outreach after my departure. Every detail was considered and written down. Each evening that week, I built digital records of my contributions. I put together examples of successful campaigns, saved customer testimonials, and organized my professional network contacts, all within legal and ethical rules. These would form the foundation of my new business credentials. The defining moment came Friday evening. As I reviewed my weekly customer call notes, I realized I no longer needed the big manager title to prove my approach or abilities. The position I had wanted now seemed like a golden cage, tying me to an organization that didn't share my values. True success would come from building something real, something entirely mine. This clarity brought unexpected energy. That night, I created a detailed business plan. I would focus on strategic communication and relationship management consulting, offering the same services I provided at City Solutions, but with more personalized attention and without big company costs. I calculated startup expenses, projected income based on careful customer acquisition estimates, and outlined service packages at different prices. My savings could keep me going for 3 months without income. It was risky, but possible with careful planning. I would need office space, basic equipment, legal structure, and marketing materials. The biggest challenge would be the time between leaving City Solutions and getting steady customer relationships. Wednesday morning, I applied for a business loan using my apartment as collateral. By afternoon, I had been pre-approved. I registered a website name for Mia's Client Solutions and contacted a designer friend to start work on branding materials. I scheduled visits to 3 small office spaces in professional buildings, all affordable but impressive enough for customer meetings. Each concrete step strengthened my resolve. What had begun as a reaction to betrayal was turning into a vision for something better. I had always worked within the limits of City Solutions structure. Independence would allow me to put into practice customer relationship strategies I had wanted for years. A strange calm replaced my initial anger. I would continue doing excellent work at City Solutions while getting ready to leave. My customers deserved consistent service until things change, and staying professional would protect my reputation no matter what happened. I created a separate email account and phone number for my new business. I developed templates for announcements, communications, and service proposals. I outlined a follow-up schedule for customer outreach after my departure. Every detail was considered and written down. Each evening that week, I built digital records of my contributions. I put together examples of successful campaigns, saved customer testimonials, and organized my professional network contacts, all within legal and ethical rules. These would form the foundation of my new business credentials.
The defining moment came Friday evening. As I reviewed my weekly customer call notes, I realized I no longer needed the big manager title to prove my approach or abilities. The position I had wanted now seemed like a golden cage, tying me to an organization that didn't share my values. True success would come from building something real, something entirely mine. This clarity brought unexpected energy. The weekend was spent researching industry trends, making my service offerings better, and practicing my leaving conversation. By Sunday night, I had a full exit strategy with backup plans for different situations. The woman who had entered the weekend feeling broken emerged with purpose and determination. Monday morning, I arrived at City Solutions with a new perspective. Tom's corner office and reserved parking space no longer represented what I had lost. Instead, they symbolized the corporate game I was choosing to leave behind. I was no longer playing for position within their structure. I was creating my own. Tom's move into the big manager role showed the gaps in his preparation that no amount of smart networking could fill. Customer calls he now handled on his own showed his lack of deep industry knowledge. Reports from team members mentioned missed deadlines and communications that failed to address specific customer concerns. During department meetings, he presented general strategies that sounded impressive but lacked practical steps for making them happen. When asked for details, he would put off discussions until later, which rarely happened. His leadership style quickly became bossy rather than collaborative, creating tension within previously high-performing teams. I observed these stumbles without comment, focusing instead on my own performance. My numbers during this time were amazing, exceeding goals across all measurable categories. Each success was carefully written down in our customer system and highlighted in my weekly reports, creating a clear record of my continued value. I maintained a professional, supportive attitude in all talks with Tom. When he asked for guidance on customer situations, I gave thorough, helpful answers. My seeming acceptance of the new hierarchy seemed to ease his initial nervousness around me. "I appreciate your continued commitment," he told me during one particularly challenging customer situation. "This transition period would be much harder without your company knowledge." I smiled and assured him I was dedicated to the company's success, which was true in its own way. I wanted a clean ending, not a messy departure that could be blamed on bad performance or unprofessionalism. Meanwhile, I carried out my plan with careful precision. The office space I chose was in a professional building downtown, small but elegant, with a meeting room available for customer meetings. I finalized my business formation documents, establishing Mia's client strategies as an LLC. My website launched, visible but not promoted, ready for when the time came. The most delicate phase involved subtle conversations with key customers. During regular check-in calls, I listened carefully for signs of unhappiness with the new structure. These chances came naturally as Tom's inexperience became clear in daily customer management. When Mr. Clark from Global Holdings expressed frustration about repeated strategy changes, I showed understanding without criticizing. Organizational transitions can be challenging. What specific concerns are affecting your team's experience? This approach allowed customers to say what they were unhappy about themselves, rather than reacting to any negative portrayal from me. Their comments often revealed problems I hadn't known about, painting a picture of worse service quality. By my third week under the new structure, I had gathered enough information to decide on my resignation timing. I scheduled a meeting with Miss Chen, skipping both Tom and Mr. Davies. My reason was that resigning to my direct boss, who was now Tom, would create an awkward situation, and Mr. Davies had shown he dismissed my contributions. The meeting with Miss Chen was scheduled for Thursday morning. I prepared thoroughly, expecting different reactions and planning my words carefully. The goal was a clean, professional separation that kept relationships intact while clearly marking my departure. Miss Chen seemed surprised when I entered her office, likely wondering why a senior customer manager had asked for time with the CEO. "Thank you for meeting with me," I began after brief pleasantries. "I wanted to speak with you directly as I have made the difficult decision to resign from my position at City Solutions, effective 2 weeks from today." Her expression shifted from polite interest to genuine concern. This is unexpected, Mia. You have been a valuable team member for years. May I ask what prompted this decision? I had practiced this moment extensively. I have greatly valued my time at City Solutions, but I believe it is time for me to pursue new professional challenges. This decision comes after careful consideration of my long-term career goals. Is this related to the big manager position? Because we could discuss other advancement opportunities if that is the concern. I appreciate that, but my decision extends beyond any single position. I believe this is the right time for me to explore new directions. Miss Chen leaned forward, shifting to retention mode. What would it take to keep you? A compensation adjustment? Different responsibilities? Your customer relationships are significant to City Solutions. I am genuinely appreciative of the offer, but my decision is final. I will ensure a thorough transition of all my accounts and documentation to maintain continuity for our customers. After several more attempts to change my mind, including an on-the-spot offer of a 15% raise, Miss Chen accepted my resignation with reluctance. We will need to inform Tom and Mr. Davies immediately. Would you prefer to join that conversation? I would appreciate that. Transparency is important during transitions. The meeting with Tom and Mr. Davies 30 minutes later was brief and tense. Mr. Davies appeared annoyed at the inconvenience, while Tom seemed genuinely shocked. We just restructured the department around the new leadership, Mr. Davies said, his tone accusing. This timing is disruptive to our customers. I understand the concern for continuity, I replied calmly. That is why I am offering a detailed transition plan for each account. My priority remains the customer experience through this change. Tom finally spoke, his expression difficult to read. I thought you were on board with the new direction. We discussed future opportunities for you just last week. I appreciate those conversations. I responded neutrally. This decision reflects my personal career goals rather than any specific workplace factor. The exit interview with HR was similarly straightforward. I provided constructive feedback about the company culture and processes without mentioning the specific circumstances of the big manager selection. When asked directly if the promotion decision influenced my departure, I simply said, career decisions are always based on multiple factors. I wish Tom success in his new role. My transition documents were so complete, they were almost overwhelming. For each customer, I created detailed briefing documents outlining relationship history, communication preferences, contract details, and upcoming tasks. The thoroughness served two purposes, showing my professionalism while subtly highlighting the difficulty Tom would now face. My final day arrived with little fuss. I had asked for no goodbye gathering, preferring individual conversations with colleagues I valued. I left the building at 5 p.m., carrying a small box of personal items, nodding to security as I had done countless times before. The following Monday, Mia's Client Strategies officially opened for business. My office was modest but professional, with my business principles clearly displayed on the wall: transparency, partnership, results. I spent the day finalizing systems and preparing for customer outreach. Rather than immediately contacting former customers, I announced my new venture through a simple social media update. Excited to announce the launch of Mia's Client Strategies, offering specialized relationship management consulting for growth-focused organizations. The response was immediate. By noon, 3 former customers had connected through my website contact form, asking for meetings to discuss their current problems. By the end of the day, that number had grown to 7. Each message contained some variation of the same theme. Service quality had declined since my departure, and they were interested in alternatives. For each inquiry, I scheduled a professional consultation. During these meetings, I focused entirely on understanding their current needs without speaking badly about City Solutions. I presented my service model, emphasizing the personalized attention and strategic partnership my independent firm could provide. My first signed customer was Global Holdings, who ended their contract with City Solutions, saying they were changing how they worked with vendors. Mr. Clark was direct during our meeting. The relationship hasn't been the same since you left. We would prefer working directly with you without the corporate layers. The second customer to switch was Break Designs, followed quickly by Apex Industries. Each departure followed the same pattern. The customer initiated contact, expressed unhappiness with recent service changes, and made an independent decision to work with my firm. 2 weeks after my departure, Tom called my personal cell phone. I let it go to voicemail, keeping the boundary I had set. His message sounded panicked. "Mia, we need to discuss the customer situation. Please call me back as soon as possible." I did not return the call. Our next communication would be on my terms when the time was right. 3 days later, an email arrived from Mr. Davies. Subject line, "Urgent client retention discussion." The message was short and angry. "Several key accounts have ended services, citing your departure. This pattern suggests client solicitation, which would violate your separation agreement. Please contact me immediately to discuss." I forwarded the email to Lena, who advised documenting all customer-initiated contacts and keeping a clear record of each interaction. "They're trying to scare you, but they have no case if clients approached you independently after your departure." By the end of the first month, my firm had secured contracts with 9 former City Solutions customers, representing approximately 40% of my previous portfolio value. The money side was good. Without City Solutions overhead, I could offer similar services at slightly lower rates while still increasing my personal income.
Then came the text from Miss Chen. "Why did you resign?" After careful consideration, I replied with 3 words: check the pipeline. The meaning was clear to anyone who understood customer relationships. The pipeline, City Solutions' term for upcoming customer projects and expected income, was rapidly emptying as customers followed the relationship rather than staying with the company. Later that day, I learned through industry contacts that City Solutions had called an emergency board meeting. Tom had been asked to present a customer retention strategy, which had apparently gone poorly. The board was questioning the recent leadership changes in light of the customer exodus. By the end of my first month in business, Mia's client strategies had secured contracts representing 70% of my former customer portfolio value. I had hired an administrative assistant and was interviewing for a customer helper position. The risk I had taken was already proving worthwhile, both financially and personally. The foundation of my success was simple. I had built genuine relationships over years of dedicated service. When forced to choose between a company and the person who understood their needs, customers chose the relationship. City Solutions had fundamentally misunderstood what customers valued, and they were paying the price for that mistake. 6 months after leaving City Solutions, Mia's client strategies occupied a larger office suite in the same building. My team had grown to 5 employees, all chosen for their customer-focused approach and collaborative mindset. Our customer list had expanded beyond former City Solutions accounts to include new businesses seeking the personalized service we had become known for. The journey from betrayal to rebuilding had been challenging but life-changing. The initial pain had turned into gratitude for the push toward independence. What had felt like professional devastation became the reason for creating something real and aligned with my values. My new office wall displayed our updated mission statement: building partnerships through transparency, expertise, and dedication to client success. Below it hung framed testimonials from customers who had followed me from City Solutions, clear proof that relationships went beyond company boundaries. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, similar to my first meeting with Tom, my phone showed a surprising name: Miss Chen. I paused before answering, curious about why she was calling after 6 months of silence. "Mia, I was hoping we might meet for coffee this week. There are some matters I would like to discuss in person." We arranged to meet at a neutral place, a coffee shop downtown that neither of us went to regularly. Miss Chen arrived precisely on time, dressed in her typical executive clothes, but with a noticeably different mood. After brief pleasantries, she addressed the purpose of our meeting directly. "City Solutions has undergone significant changes since your departure. The customer transitions created a ripple effect that forced us to reevaluate our approach to relationship management." I listened without interrupting, staying professional while she continued. "Tom is no longer with the company. The big manager position has been restructured, and Mr. Davies has taken early retirement." The board recognized that our focus on traditional hierarchy was undermining the customer relationships that drive our business. She paused, seeming to gather courage for her next statement. "We made a mistake, Mia. The way your contributions were overlooked and the promotion decision was handled reflected poor judgment and a failure to recognize where our true value lies."
The acknowledgement was unexpected but validating. 6 months earlier, these words might have meant everything to me. Now they simply confirmed what I had already proven through action. I appreciate your honesty, Miss Chen. Every organization faces challenges when balancing company processes with individual contributions. That brings me to the purpose of this meeting, she continued. City Solutions would like to discuss your potential return in an executive capacity. We are creating a new position, Chief Client Officer, with a seat on the board. The offer was substantial, including company ownership options, a big pay raise, and the executive recognition I had once desperately wanted. 6 months ago, it would have seemed like justice. Today, it felt like a step backward. I am honored by the offer, I replied carefully, but Mia's client strategies has become more than just a business for me. It represents an approach to customer relationships that might be difficult to integrate into a larger corporate structure. Miss Chen seemed ready for this answer. We anticipated your attachment to your firm. We are open to discussing a strategic partnership rather than traditional employment. City Solutions could provide resources and infrastructure while maintaining the independence of your brand and approach. This alternative was more interesting, possibly offering growth opportunities without giving up the culture I had built. We agreed to have our teams explore partnership options with no commitments but open minds. Walking back to my office after our meeting, I thought about the journey that had brought me to this point. The betrayal that had felt like an ending had actually been a beginning. The pain had forced me to rethink what success truly meant beyond titles and company approval. Success defined by others' measures could be empty compared to success aligned with personal values. The greatest security came not from company positions, but from the genuine value you created for others. My approach to guidance had also changed. With my own team, I stressed both skill development and business understanding, making sure they knew not just how to do the work, but how to navigate professional environments smartly. I shared credit generously, knowing that lifting others strengthened rather than lessening my position. As I entered my office, I paused to appreciate what we had built in just 6 months. The space buzzed with focused activity. My team was doing meaningful work that directly helped our customers' success. This was true accomplishment, built on a foundation of genuine relationships and clear values. The betrayal that had once seemed unforgivable now appeared as a necessary redirection. Without that painful push, I might have continued climbing a corporate ladder that led to a place I didn't actually want to be. Sometimes, the worst moments become turning points toward real success. I opened my laptop to find emails from 2 potential new customers referred by existing customers who valued our approach. This natural growth through relationship networks proved everything I believed about genuine service. Our success wasn't built on titles or company positioning, but on consistently delivering value that customers recognized and appreciated. What would you do if faced with workplace betrayal? Would you let it define you, or would you use it as fuel to build something better? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If you found value in my journey, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and lessons. Remember, sometimes what seems like your worst professional moment can become the catalyst for your greatest success. Thank you for joining me today, and I wish you the courage to define success on your own terms.